So hanging out. One of the first things to check, and I have to check for myself every time as well, are the knees caving in a little bit? Probably not much, maybe a tiny bit. And then like everything else that we do in Tai Chi, little tiny things, a micro millimeter off becomes a big thing eventually. So your awareness becomes keener and keener, more sensitive. And so something you wouldn't have noticed at all before becomes something that's not only noticeable, but very loud in your mind. So your knees might be pretty straight over your feet, but eventually you have an intuitive sense, a kinesthetic sense. They're caved in a tiny, tiny bit. So again, you can either physically push the knees apart a little bit, or physically roll ever so slightly to the outside edges of the feet to avoid the tendency to roll to the inside edges. Or you can imagine or feel there's a hollow in the arch, all these different ways that we can mention. So to counter the tendency to roll in, especially if you're on a soft floor. Or the other energetic way was imagining the knees are magnetically repulsed away from each other, energetically repulsed. And so that's usually, I often use that. That opens up the whole posture. And again, eventually you'll feel this as well, that literally just a change in a millimeter or so from the knees, tiny, tiny bit in, to just a millimeter back over, opens up the structure. Like literally you can feel that difference. So if I just go from here and just the intention, just the thought, intention of having my knees more over my feet, that tiny, tiny bit of movement is like a major difference in opening in the structure. That's not just the structure of the knees that opens up the hips. And then from there on, it can work up through your body. So hang out, hands, mind, and breath at the center, at the core, just below the navel. We'll just hang out for a little bit and breathe. Mindful posture, mindful breathing. Let your mind scan your body, noticing any tensions. Consciously release those tensions as much as you're able to in that moment. And notice any alignment issues. Maybe the neck is a little bit kinked back, maybe the lower back is a little bit tight and curved, all those things that we talk about. So just taking a moment to scan the body, mindful of the breath, mindful of the body. Each out breath is a releasing breath. So consciously relating to the out breath as releasing tensions. By the way, how is the sound level? Shall I turn it up a little bit?
It's okay for me, but yeah, it is a little bit distant.
Yeah, usually, so I forgot to do that at the beginning. So you guys just hang out. Any questions about what we're doing right now? So mind and breath resting together below the navel. Each out breath is a releasing breath, consciously releasing some tension on the out breath. Scanning your body. So when we talk about posture, standing, it's definitely not a set and forget thing. It's a continual refinement, continual process. So you're continually making micro adjustments. So it's not something, okay, so I'm supposed to find this optimum shape and structure and then I'm good. So it's a continual process for sure. Letting the weight exit freely through the legs and feet. And if you can consciously release the waist a little bit more, you'll feel that, oh, there's a whoosh. that more weight and therefore tensions are more freely able to leave. Where just a second ago, a little bit of tension in the waist is like a dam, holding everything in, holding everything up, preventing everything from releasing and flowing. So releasing the knees will help with that. Anywhere, of course, will help with that. Releasing the hip joints a little bit, of course, will allow more to flow down, be more open. But a real nice trigger point is the waist itself. Then bend your knees a little bit more, so there's a good degree of bend to them, and we'll start some slow hip circles. Very slow, very mindful. And if it feels okay, you can let the circles get a little bit bigger and bigger. But it's more about mindfulness and intent than a physical exercise. So more about feeling what you're doing, feeling what's happening in the body as you use your intent to lead the body in its movement. Release the breath. Slowly come to center again, so smaller circles and smaller circles, until you come back to centered stillness. Send your mind the other way and let the body follow the mental direction. Slow, gradually getting bigger. By the way, you're hanging out the whole time, so for sure, there's a tendency, maybe we're doing pretty good at hanging out here, tailbone is dropped, lower back is flat, all that, but we start into movement, everything hikes up. So even as you do the hip circles, notice what's happening. Are you coming up in the lower back, coming up in the neck or shoulders? So you still want to be hanging out from the string, still want the spine to be dangling long, even though you're moving the body. So the spine is still in free fall. The spine is still just hanging and falling, even though you're moving. So watch when you do the movement, pulling in, pulling up. So you don't want to lose any of those things just because we're in movement. But of course, that will be the tendency. So then the further training is keeping those qualities while we're in movement, even in something as simple as hip circles. Breathe. Of course, breathing in, the belly expands. Breathing out, the belly empties. Out breath is still the releasing breath. All those things are still occurring as we are in movement. Smaller and smaller until you're hanging in stillness. And then more specific, tailbone circles. So imagine you're just doing the tailbone. Other things will move too, of course, but imagine you're just rotating the tailbone in circles. You can imagine that you're drawing a circle on the floor with the tailbone, but just articulating the tailbone. So that makes things a little bit more precise and targeting the movement deeper in the body. Release the abdomen, breathe. So it makes smaller, deeper movement. Just the tailbone. And slowly coming to stillness, send your mind the other way. And see how well you can do isolating it to just the tailbone circling. Notice the tension, like tightening the breath when you focus, concentrate really hard. So again, continually scanning the body, including the breath. And coming back to center. Have the heels close in. Slide your hands to your knees. Keep your back straight. Small circles with the knees. Breathe. Small circles the other way. Very slow, gentle, and mindful. We can go in opposite directions. Should be no stress in the lower back. You're not holding yourself up with the lower back, using your arms for support. So you're using your legs and your arms. Slowly going the other way. Okay, coming to stillness. Rather than coming up using your lower back, walk your hands up, right up to your hips, and then coming up. Knees bent a little bit, rolling the shoulders. Notice the articulation of the shoulder joints, the scapula, and in particular the spine. And slowly changing directions. And hanging out, the fact that you're hanging out, let that bring you also naturally to centered stillness. Hanging vertically down, weight through the feet. Spine waves, we've done this for the last couple classes. It's tremendous for the spine, keeping it young and supple. You start by putting the hips back a little bit, so bending in the hips a little bit. And it's as if someone's pulling your tailbone forward. And then one vertebrae at a time is pulled forward. So the spine stays where it is, but the spine is pulled from the bottom forward till eventually you get to the top of the neck and get to the head. So you angle back a bit, sit down a little bit, roll the tailbone forward, and then vertebrae by vertebrae falls back. Keep breathing well. So your head, neck shouldn't go back until you get to those vertebrae. Rolling the spine. Ideally vertebrae by vertebrae, but of course at first that's going to be a few vertebrae at a time. Breathe. Pull the tailbone forward and let one bone at a time fall back. Till eventually comes out to the top of your head. You'll probably notice little cracks and minor adjustments in the spine. And that is exactly what it is doing. It's releasing the spine, helping it open and realign. And if you want, you can do a few that are a little bit more smooth, a little swifter. So you can either keep it nice and slow, or you can change the pacing, make it a little bit swifter if you like. But try not to miss too many vertebrae. Try to articulate it as precisely as you can, even though you're going a little bit faster. Nice, good breathing. It's good to do this in the morning, shortly after rising. And it's good to do this at the end of the day, just before you go to bed. This will keep your spine open, supple, and healthy. Okay, hang out, spine dangling long. And then we go sideways, right? We've done this before. Make sure your knees are bent and let your body guide you. Do you want to take a little wider stance? Just where your feet should be, feel comfortable with this. But again, make sure your lower back is flat. You send the tailbone to one side and then one vertebrae after the other in sequence follows in that to that side. Of course, the last to come are the vertebrae of the neck and then the head. Breathe. And then whenever you're ready, send the tailbone the other way. And one vertebrae at a time follows over to that side. So just like seaweed in the ocean, waving with the current. Now try not to do this muscularly. So you just send your tailbone over there and like a seaweed being pulled over, your spine being pulled over, But the spine is so soft and relaxed and so unmuscular, only one vertebrae at a time is pulled over. So your whole vertebrae, your whole spine isn't going over. It's just hanging out and being relaxed. But eventually, one at a time, one bone at a time, is drawn over. Check your breathing. Of course, you'll probably find one side is a little more articulate than the other. That's, of course, normal. And be mindful of your breathing. Make sure those knees are bent and the lower back is flat. Notice any tension in the body and let that go. That might mean you need to make the movement smaller. So starting very small and subtle is good. You don't want to try to make for a perfect movement, nice big movement, but be tightening, struggling, and being muscular about it. That's actually going against the benefit. So the movement can be very small and very slight. If that helps you stay more soft, more relaxed, and more gentle. Now, when you do this in the morning, evening, how much time you spend with it, of course, is totally up to you. And it may vary from day to day, depending on how you're feeling that day. But it only takes a couple minutes with the forward wave, a couple minutes with the side to side wave. Just doing that will have a tremendous effect for doing that a couple times a day. So, total of maybe 4 minutes. Okay, hanging out, coming back to centered stillness. Remember the top crown of the head is going up, lower back is flat. Now, spiraling through the spine. Again, make sure the knees are bent and lower back is flat. Turning the tailbone in a circle and have that propagate up your spine like a spiraling staircase, but slowly propagating up your spine to eventually it reaches your neck and the top of your head. Breathe. And then slowly subside to stillness. And then start the tailbone in the other direction, letting it propagate slowly up the spine. Release, breathe. Take a moment in between changing directions to hang out and breathe. And release. See how much you can let go. Let go of physical tightness, tension, letting go, letting go. And that spiral dissipates up through the crown of your head. And then you start the other direction with the tailbone. Breathe. Okay. Breathe, hang out. Let gravity bring you back to centered alignment. Again, make sure knees are bent. Lower back is completely flat. One more thing we'll do with that is now spontaneous movement with the spine. Any direction, any and all directions are possible. So not in particular trying to do a spiral or anything, just letting the spine move any which way. As long as you're hanging out, the spine is long and open, and you're not doing it muscularly. Just kind of freewheeling it. Spontaneous. Release the abdomen, hang the spine nice and long. The back crown of the head is high. Release the abdomen and breathe. Exploring the movement of your spine with your mindfulness. And again, accentuate hanging out and let gravity naturally bring you back to centered and straight stillness. Hands back at the Dantian, resting the mind and breath below the navel. Each out breath releasing more weight and tensions through the legs and feet. Check the alignment of the neck, lower back. Breathe out and release. Hang out. Bring the hands over the navel. We're going to keep the hips here. Hips don't move. Theoretically, they don't move. We're going to isolate the movement from the waist. So as best you can, again, without striving or tensing, you turn the waist, you turn the belly button, keeping the hips here. Again, you're not going for maximum at all, just a comfortable turn. Don't hold your breath. Come back, soft and easy. Breathe, breathe. And then when you're ready, a soft, gentle turn the other direction, just with the belly button and up. Hips stay where they are. So notice if you're tensing a bit. Notice if you're holding your breath a little bit. Real nice, soft, and easy. Best you can. Hips are staying immobile. It's just the waist up that's turning. It might require some nice deep breaths once in a while. Big exhale. Check the back of the neck, lower back. Check the breath. Not only is this good for the suppleness and mobility of the spine, it massages, activates, stimulates the internal organs. Okay, come back to center, hang out, take 2 or 3 deep cleansing breaths. Just hang out and release. Now one hand at the sternum, one hand at the belly button, at the sternum. Same thing, but now we're adding another turn. Hips stay again, stationary. We turn the belly button and up, the whole body from the belly button up, a little bit to the side, as far as comfortable, no further. And then we stop wherever it's comfortable. And then from the sternum up, we turn a little bit further. Not straining, it might just be 1/4 inch further, as far as it wants to go. And then you bring the belly button back and then the sternum. Breathe. Then turn the belly button to the other direction as far as comfortable. Wherever it wants to stop, it stops. Then you continue sending the sternum in that same direction until it's ready to stop. Of course, you're breathing the whole time. Bring the belly button back, bring the sternum back. So now you're aligned again. Take a deep breath or 2. Whenever you're ready, you turn the other way. From the belly button up. Then from the sternum, only as far as comfortable, just exploring a gentle range of motion. Then belly button comes back, followed by the sternum. Take a mindful pause, a restful pause before you start the other way. Once in a while, you might need to take an extra deep breath. You can probably feel what it's doing for the spine and the deep tissues in the torso. Feel free if you need to pause and rest for a moment. People aren't used to being so specifically articulate and refined in their movement, so it takes a lot of concentration. So it might be quite arduous and quite challenging. So feel free to pause and stop and just breathe. Something you can work up to. Hang out. Hands below the navel. Each out breath is a releasing breath. Then on an out breath, let your hands drop and continue to swing with natural momentum and weight. And enjoying the sensation of gravity just working through your arms, pulling through your arms. Just like gravity, momentum do almost all of that movement for you. So it's just gravity, momentum, and your intention is all you need for this simple, gentle movement. Now, to be a little bit more specific about this, I'm not trying to swing my arms out. If you're trying to swing your arms out, you're probably firing your muscles in your shoulders and triceps. I'm not swinging my arms out. I'm simply dropping my arms. I'm just dropping my arms straight down with gravity. Momentum will take the arms out, so it becomes an arm swing, but I'm not doing that swing. So notice if you're kind of doing that lateral swing, you don't have to, you don't need to. That's doing. Wu wei, non-doing, wu wei, doing nothing extra. So you don't have to swing your arms out. You just have to give them over to gravity, release over to gravity, let gravity take those arms and hands, and they will flare out on their own. And because they're swinging like a pendulum, they must, by necessity, swing back. So you're not bringing them back. They'll come back on their own. You can add a bit more intention to get more of a swing. Now, breathing in, 3 swings, you're sinking down. Breathing out, three swings, you're rising up. Go at your own timing. How much can you release? How much can you let go? How much can you allow the breath? And then we're going to turn the body. Let those knees be bent. It's like a cross-country swing. Okay, and then when you're out here, let one arm fall behind, one arm fall in front. So you bend, you sit into one hip, turn the waist, one arm flows in front, one arm flows behind you. And once you have that movement, you have a sense of it, completely release the shoulders, completely release the elbows, even the wrist, hands, and fingers. So just shifting the weight a little bit, turning the hips and waist. That's the only reason why the arms are moving. Continually seeing how much you can let go and release those shoulders, elbows, wrists, and hands. Releasing the belly. Each time is another opportunity to let go and release. Notice if there's any tension in the shoulders, probably is. Maybe you can release a bit more. Notice if the stomach, abdomen area is tightened up a little bit. Consciously release that and breathe. Notice if there's any tension between the shoulder blades. Probably. So now you're conscious of it. So that means you can now release some of that anyway. If you're not aware of it, you can't release it. No way. You can't release what you're not aware of. So the fact that you became aware of the tension between the shoulder blades means that you can release at least some of that. Good. And gently winding down. Not stopping it, just letting it naturally subside. Make sure the knees are well bent, lower back is flat. No weight shift, simply just a hip turn. So a standard arm swing, where the weight stays right down center line. Hands falling on the body. Now you'll probably notice that your arms are much more soft and relaxed than usual when you usually go into this arm swing right here, right now, when you normally start it. So let those hands just tap the body naturally. Notice any tension happening, creeping in the shoulders or wherever it might be. Again, the lower back might curl up and shorten. So bend the knees and or lengthen the lower back. Same with the back of the neck. Can you allow those shoulders to sit even more? And gradually winding down. Let the arms be taken by gravity. A little wider. Toes out, knees out. Not much, just a slight angle out. So in fact, 45 degrees might be a bit too much. So just slightly out, not quite straightforward. We're just adding now a weight shift. Just a weight shift. Make sure you're not leaning. You're hanging from the string still. Make sure your knees are well bent. Now, because we're doing more movement, we've added a weight shift, and physically there's more movement. Probably there's some extra tension that's crept in from what we were just doing. So for example, I noticed that there's a tendency to use the shoulders and back a bit more than what I was doing with the other arm swing. So I have to consciously, mindfully release that tension. There's extra stuff that's crept in because we're doing more movement. And probably the same with the abdomen. Check in with your abdomen. Is it tightened a little bit because we're doing more movement? And because we're doing more movement, it's a bigger swing. Are your shoulders holding on? Are your shoulder joints tighter? Because you're doing a larger movement. So you maybe need to move slower or smaller so that your shoulders are confident to completely let go and release. So you want to be soft enough, gentle enough in the movement, and small enough in the movement that you can coax whatever part of your body, shoulders, what have you, to completely release and let go. Holding on, tension is a protective mechanism. So you need to go mindful and gentle enough to coax the body to release and open. It will not do that unless it feels safe. It's later on, you get very, 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 very vibrant. But the whole point in getting very vibrant like this is so that you can move to that intensity level and be as soft and relaxed, free and safe as you are at this level. So it's not a matter of getting harder and faster eventually. It's can you move up to more dynamic movement, more intensity, and still stay open, soft, and released. So that's the challenge journey. That once I can totally release more and more here, nose tension, shoulders, abdomen, where have you, and then I increase the intensity and notice the tension that's crept in. Can I release and come back to that previous level of relaxation? If not, I go back to that previous level of movement and speed. Gradually, you take this bit by bit, more intense movement, larger movement, faster movement, perhaps, and have the same degree of releaseness, openness, freedom, expansiveness. So what the practicality of this is, then you can take all this Tai Chi body we're creating into regular movement. You take the Tai Chi body, the Tai Chi principles, to regular speed movement, walking, doing errands, being busy during the day, even hyper movement, running. And we still can have the Tai Chi body and have the principles. So when you increase the intensity of something like this, that's the whole intent behind it. How much of these good things can I bring with me into the next level of intensity? If you're losing a lot and you can't get back that relaxation, then you ratchet it down. You ratchet it down to a smaller, softer, slower level to get those qualities back and keep them. And then continually, gently challenging yourself, coaxing the body to bring that softness, openness, relaxedness, releasedness into bigger or more intense movement. And then we can turn a little bit more, come onto the ball of the 1 foot. So then again, I'll just ask you, what tension has crept in? What new tension has crept in, or what has increased in tension? No doubt it has happened somewhere in your body. So notice where that's happened. And again, either make the movement a little smaller, softer, as best you can. Let go and release that tension. Hang from the string. Are you doing more with the arms than you were before? Is the stomach area tighter than it was before? Has the lower back become foreshortened and tightens? Now these preliminary exercises are the training drills and exercises for Tai Chi. This creates the Tai Chi body so that when you do Tai Chi, Tai Chi is happening. Let me put it a different way. If you take a regular person off the street, he's someone who's stiff, hard, dense, very tight, and you have them do the Tai Chi movements, do you think they're doing Tai Chi? They might know the movements, or someone shows them the movement and they follow along. They're not doing Tai Chi. You need to have a Tai Chi body for Tai Chi to happen. So these arm swings and the standing work is the groundwork, preliminary work, so that when we do Tai Chi, more Tai Chi can happen. Hanging out, releasing the abdomen. Okay, feet go flat. And then the other arm swing with the reverse hip turn. So I'm not too sure how familiar Susan is with this. So what we were just doing is turning the hip in the direction of the weight shift. That's a standard hip turn, turning in the direction of the weight shift. If I'm shifting the weight left, I'm turning the hips to the left. Well, this is the opposite. So I shift the weight to the left leg, I'm turning my hips to the right leg. As I shift the weight to the right leg, I'm turning my hips to the left. Or the other way to put it is I'm turning my hips to the empty leg. As I shift my weight to one leg, I turn my hips to the empty leg. Or again, I shift my weight one way and my hips turn the other direction that I shift the weight to. And then how much can you hang out, release, and let go? Release the belly and breathe. Noticing tensions. See how much you can release and let go. And smaller and smaller. Breathe. Hang out from the string, weight through the feet, mind and breath resting below the navel. Back of the neck is pushed back, lower back is pushed back, hang the spine. Breathing in, the belly expands. Breathing out, the belly sinks back in. Releasing tensions on each out breath. Let the arms dangle with gravity. Again, check the alignment of the knees. Probably they could be further away from each other a little bit more than what they are for better alignment. And the back crown of the head is pointing straight up to the sky. Tailbone is pointing straight down to the ground. So if you need to, if you're getting weary in the legs or tight somewhere, feel free to come out of it, move around a little bit, and come back into it. So feel totally free to do that. So don't feel like you have to arduously hang in there and grit and bear it. That's going to work against the process. So if you need to, in this position, move your legs around a little bit, or even come out of the position and walk around a little bit, then that's totally okay to do. You need to do that. We need to keep addressing it rather than staying in there and tightening up. You just keep approaching it, keep addressing it. So you can take those little breaks if you need to. Again, alignment of the knees, tailbone pointed down, lower back flat, back crown of the head pointing straight up to the sky. Some of the most important aspects of standing practice, many reasons why you do it, but maybe three are the most crucial: alignment of structure, openness of structure, and syncing the chi. Those are extremely important reasons we do standing. So to approach simply the alignment of structure, as you know, we want bone on top of bone. So we're vertically aligned with gravity. That's probably not new for anyone. That's important though, because we probably don't have bone on top of bone. We have all kinds of askew alignment, especially up, this kind of thing, or this kind of thing, or this kind of thing. So that's not bone on top of bone, right? So bone on top of bone. So you have basically vertical alignment. You're aligned vertically with gravity. But that, again, as I mentioned before, it's smaller and smaller adjustments and refinements. So, I'm pretty straight now. But like I was touching upon before, months from now, you might be developing keener awareness if you work with this continually. Oh, okay, I just changed that, like maybe literally a millimeter or two. That feels much better. That's more straight, that's more aligned. So the awareness and sensitivity becomes keener and keener, sharper and sharper. So what you think is pretty straight now, eventually that will refine. So the mechanical help with that is pushing the back of the neck back, or back crown of the head going up, lower back filling out. Like those are mechanical guidelines, but eventually the body and the energy gets you there, guides you and gets you there. But at first you need the words, you need mechanics. Eventually Tai Chi more and more teaches you from the inside, guides you from the inside out. You will be aligned as you become more sensitive to Chi, to your body, to your mind. It will be self-adjusting. And that's really quite an interesting thing. It tells you, it teaches you from the inside. But first we need the words and we need the mechanics. So basically, structure, bone on top of bone. Then I mentioned openness of structure. We want a spacious structure. So we want not just bone on top of bone. Again, feel free if you need to come out of it, come back in. That's what you need to do. That's fine. Not only do we have one bone on top of bone, so you see this here, let's say this is vertebrae, but it could be any bone. It could be the hip bone over the femur bone. Bone on top of bone, but we're not finished yet. We actually want space between the bones. And there is space between the bones already, because for a joint to be a joint, to be able to move a joint, there must be space in there. If there is no space in the joint, you couldn't move it. It wouldn't be a joint. So there's already space in every joint. There's space between every bone, but we want to increase that space. So we literally become more spacious in our structure. So again, my definition for perfect posture, good posture, is simply open, spacious body structure. Open, spacious skeletal structure. That's my definition of good posture. It's not just vertical, bone on top of bone. It's open, spacious body structure. So if you get the bone on top of bone, let your muscles hang off your bones. So you're not holding yourself up with your muscles. It's the bones that carry the weight, not the muscles. Imagine your muscles as soft rubber hanging off your bones, but you remember your bones are totally vertical, pristine vertical, pristine alignment. It's your muscles that hang. And then allow or intend a little bit more space between the bones. Now, we won't spend a lot of time right now because we've been in standing for a while now, but we could go through every joint in doing this, but let's just do a little bit of that. So bring your mind to your knees and intend or imagine a bit more space in the knee joints. Bring your awareness to your ankle joints. Imagine, intend, pretend a little more expansive space in the ankle joints. Not muscularly, just your intention, your feeling. Back up to the knees again. A little bit of space in the knees. To the hip joints, deep in hip joints. Can you release the hip joints a bit more? And allow them to be a little bit more spacious. And then going into the vertebrae of the spine. You can imagine the entire spine or a certain area of your spine, whatever is easiest for you right now. We won't spend a lot of time with this right now. So just somewhere in your spine, imagine a few vertebrae. Imagine and intend bone on top of bone, so your spine is vertical, aligned. And then intend, pretend, imagine, feel the space between the vertebrae opens, becomes more spacious and generous. The space between the vertebrae actually increases. And so that's what we do through our entire body. So proper alignment, bone on top of bone, that's just the beginning. Then we want our skeletal structure to be not only aligned, but open and spacious. Space in those joints. Breathe out to release tensions that's accumulating. Maybe bring your awareness to your shoulder joints. Can you allow your shoulder joints to open and release a bit more, such that they actually open, that actually a space between the bones actually increases a tiny bit. And again, back to the ankle joints. Can you allow or simply imagine the space that is there in the ankle joints? Hang out and breathe, release the belly. Can you go to the knee joints, imagine the space that actually must be there? And to the hip joints again. space in the hip joints. Breathe, release. And one more time, along the spine or somewhere in the spine. Imagine and allow space between the vertebrae. Breathe. Gently rock out. Come into a bow stance, very, very, very softly and gently, and probably in a very small way, small movement. Come into some Toyus with the main idea, keeping your spine nice and long and open like that, keeping that same verticality, bone on top of bone, and allowing your spine to dangle long, and maybe even space between the vertebrae. Continually reminding yourself to release the abdomen and other places in your body, because concentrating hard will bring in tension in the body. So continually roaming the body, reminding yourself to release tensions and to breathe. But taking that hanging spine, bone on top of bone alignment, vertical alignment, and maybe even space in those joints into a very small movement of Toyus. Change sides whenever you want. So again, right now we're not focused on having a perfect Toyu. We're focused on the quality, feeling, concept of vertical alignment, bone on top of bone, hanging long spine, and space in some of the joints. Eventually, of course, it's all the joints. But if you just focus on the shoulder joints, or just focus on the spine, or just focus on your hips, that's fine to start with. We have to start small. Let's bring the feet back to parallel, a little slightly wider than shoulder width, knees bent, and pretty much straight and parallel. Hang out, elongate the spine, sit the shoulders, let the arms be taken by gravity. Very gently start shifting the weight and turning the hips. And very, very, very gradually, bit by bit, coming into cloud hands without footwork, but very gradually growing into cloud hands so that you maintain the quality and feeling of just hanging out, just hanging out. And the feeling of those arm swings. Those arms are soft, like wet noodles. They're soft and warm and open. Very, very, very soft arms. Shoulders doing nothing. So you move it, go into the movement very bit by bit, slowly. Again, we're not looking for a proper form right now too much. And maybe the motion won't be very big. We're working with the quality and the principle and the feeling of hanging out, spine dangling long, vertical alignment, space in the joints. Release the belly. Can you allow more space in the shoulder joints? Can you allow the spine to be a little bit more long and open? Can you release the tightness in the hip joints and let them just be? Let them release a bit. Is there extraneous tension in the knees? You can do the same movement with the knees not being quite so tight. Continually coming back to the abdomen and releasing. And then adding the stepping. We'll step twice in one direction, twice the other way. Once you step twice, of course, the arms need to keep swinging until you're ready to step the other way. And again, because we've added more movement, notice the tensions that have crept in. Because now you're doing footwork and movement, or having to think about it more so. So notice the shoulder joints, the shoulder muscles activating, tightening, restricting, the abdomen, maybe the neck. Notice what's tightened in your body and see if you can go back to that previous level of openness, releaseness, softness. Lessen the arms, just hang out from the string and send your intention. Everybody has been doing Tai Chi long enough. All you really need to do is send your intention and the body knows the move. So you don't have to do the move. You certainly don't have to do the move with your arms. Hang out and just send your intention. And then work on opening and releasing the body. Less and less with the arms, less and less with the shoulders. And coming back, stationary, a little wider in shoulder width, pretty much parallel. Repulse monkeys in a stationary position, make sure your knees are well bent. As you go into soft, gentle movement, see how soft, released, and open you can be. You might need to go slower. You might need to make the motion even smaller, because our main priority right now is that softness, openness, verticality. Spine dangling long, back crown of the head points straight up to the sky, lower back is flat, shoulders sitting right directly on top of the rib cage. So you don't need them. They're just sitting and resting. Reminding the abdomen to release. Can you release those shoulder joints? Can you allow some space between the vertebrae? Excellent. Slowly coming to hanging. So let's finish with doing a mini set. Of course, I don't want to spend time on the Zoom classes. We only have an hour maximum to do a set. So the opportunity is to work on developmental exercises and specific skill building and body changing foundational movements and drills. And then it's for you to take that into doing a set. So if you have time, and maybe you've already done it, of course, and doing a set after a Zoom class would be a really good thing to do. But you want to take these things into doing the full set. So let's do a mini set together with the feeling of just hanging out. How open and released can I be? How spacious and open and released can I be? So we're not worried about getting to perfect shape. That's different. That's a different class, different time. We work on structure. Right now, it's how open, released, soft can I be? As we do the general form of the mini set. So hanging out, abdomen release. Let's start with the hands over the dantian. Back of the neck is straight, lower back is straight. Weight through the legs. Breath in the belly. Mind resting below the navel. Let the arms hang with gravity. And begin. How well can I just hang? How soft can I allow my shoulders and arms and belly to be? So right now, I am just hanging. I am just soft and released, especially in the arms, shoulders, belly. How much can I allow that feeling? Can I hang vertically? Can I release the abdomen? Can I open and release the shoulders? Can I sit the shoulders? Can I completely rest the shoulders on top of the uppermost rib? Can I allow space in the shoulder joints? Space between the vertebrae. Can I really not move my arms, just move my mind? Hang out, release, open, and just move your mind. Noticing the tensions creep in. That's very good when you notice it. And see if you can release. Can the abdomen be more released, more soft? The shoulders. Notice your hanging alignment, quality, abdomen. Hands below the navel. Hanging out, letting the weight fall freely through the legs and feet. Mind and breath resting below the navel. A deep breath in through the nose. As you breathe out through the mouth, let your hands fall and swing, and just let them continue to swing as you breathe normally. Just let them swing naturally. So gradually, gradually come to stillness. You're not bringing them to stillness, just letting gravity do that for you. Breathe in and bring the hands back to the dantian. Hang out here for a moment. Centered stillness, centered awareness. Breath in the belly. Big, long breath in through the nose. As you breathe out through the mouth, release your hands again. Breathe normally. As you experience gravity working through your body and your arms and your hands. Gradually coming to centered stillness. Breathe. And once more, breathe in, bring the hands to the dantian. Hang out here, breathe into the belly. The weight free falling through the legs and feet. Deep, long breath in through the nose. As you breathe out through the mouth, let the hands fall, continually fall, free fall. And just watch them, feel them, watch them do what they do. Letting gravity be the primary force, and just watching gravity bring the hands and arms to centered stillness as you breathe into the belly. Back crown of the head pointing to the sky, tailbone pointing to the ground. The weight of your arms and hands opening your shoulder joints. Belly released. Breath is free and open in the belly. Gently rock out. Breathe and check yourself out. How do you feel? How are you feeling?
Good.
Okay.
Yeah, much more relaxed.
Yeah. Very floaty.
How was that mini set? How'd that mini set feel?
Felt open, like more open than it
Hello?
would have been.
More open?
Yeah.
So it's really wonderful when you can do after a workout like this. Again, it changes the body, it opens the body. It sets up the conditions for Tai Chi to happen when you do the Tai Chi set. As good as that mini set felt, imagine doing a whole set with that feeling. Of course, that's why we have warm-ups at the beginning of class. And value of movement and exercises is so that when you do the set, body is more open, available, and more conducive to doing Qi work, or conducive to doing Tai Chi. So if you do a full set right now, I'm sure it'll be a wonderfully expansive set and a transformative set.